Hello, everyone. Wow, 6 p.m. on the East Coast, and it's 3 p.m. out west, October 17th, 2024. This is Medical Legal Connection presenting Legal Nurse Talks. This is a live stream for legal nurses and attorneys and anybody in the legal world to just sit and have a chat about anything medical legal out in the arena that excites them, or anybody who has any questions. This is the very first initial LNC Talks, so I couldn't be more thrilled about that. I actually have a guest that's going to join me in a minute, and I also have my business partner, the vice president of Medical Legal Connection, is going to join us in a minute too. My business partner is in Minnesota, and I'm going to bring her aboard, and then we're going to bring Anna right out after that.
Hi, Tim.
How you doing? How did it go? I mean, were you able to share?
Yes. Yeah. So we're sharing on Facebook Live.
So this is basically going to my Facebook business account.
Yep.
The Facebook LNC group,
yep.
my LinkedIn, and my YouTube page.
Yep.
Okay. So I just think that's amazing and that's awesome. Let's our very first guest on this very first show is Anna Gray. She is from California. She runs her own podcast, and she's very interesting and cool to talk to. I'm already excited. I'm going to let her tell you where she currently is, and I think that just adds to her dynamic personality. And let's bring her out, and let's get to know Anna. There
Hi,
she is. Hi, Anna. How are you?
Hi, Anna.
I'm great. Hi. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
We're excited to have you.
You're kind of like the Jennifer Aniston of LNC Talks. I don't know if you know this. She was Ellen's first guest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm no Ellen, though. Some people think I have tendencies, but I'm no Ellen.
There's no pressure here. No pressure at all.
So why don't you tell us where you're at right now?
Okay, so this isn't my typical background. It's a little dark in here, but I'm actually at Disneyland. So I'm representing the California side of the Disney Corporation over here. A lot of us nurses like to escape to Disneyland. So today is one of those days. I broke away from my nurse friends and came over here to the business center to have this conversation with you. So yeah, I'm coming to you from Disneyland. So if you see people walking by, there's a wedding, there's a conference. It's all going to be a little exciting here.
Like I said before we started, it's not going to happen, but I would love it if Mickey walked by and we'd have to wave him over.
Keep an eye out. Yeah. Keep an eye out.
So you're at the Disneyland in California. The one in Florida is open, but them poor Florida residents with that hurricane are dealing with a lot.
Yeah. A little different weather over here.
Excellent.
I guess the good news for the people in Disney, or in Florida, at least they get to go back to work. I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you're
considering
everything that's
if that's your
job,
if
you got a job.
Yep.
Exactly. So Anna, tell us the name of your podcast first off.
My podcast is called Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting Podcast, and you were kind enough to be a guest on my show a while back, so I appreciate that. It's a great show.
Awesome. Yes. And I see you've had some really cool guests on there as well.
Yeah. Thank you. That podcast is really, every Monday it comes out every Monday. That podcast has been a blessing in disguise. It's kind of really taken off. And so because of the feedback I've gotten from it, it's been even more enjoyable every week. I love to hear the feedback. I love to see familiar faces. I love to find really great legal nurses and attorneys and doctors out there that have great conversations. So it really is
a dynamic range of guests. Yes.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
To hit all the areas.
Yeah, I love it.
How do you come up with the topics, Anna? I'm sure it's just kind of like whatever sparks an interest, but each week sometimes it's got to be difficult to come up with a topic, but in the world of LNCs, there's always something to talk about.
Yeah, no, that's the beauty of it, is that intentionally there are no topics. So it's really based around my guest's story. So everybody has a different story. And we just go from there. There really is no prep call. There's no agenda. I really like to hear, and I know I'm not the only one, because that's the feedback I get, is I like to hear people's story from the beginning to the end. And like I said, everybody's story is different, and we really get value out of just little itty bitty pieces of it, whether it's a connection of, where you're located or your experience. People tend to connect with that. So I really don't have a topic every week, but there tends to be these, underlying topics based on my guest story. So it's great. I don't have to show up with an agenda. It's just a simple conversation.
No script. Nothing.
No script. No, not at all.
So speaking of stories, let's go with yours. I know you're an OR nurse, and I'm going to ask you to elaborate a little more, but the word on the street is, though, you started in the real estate realm originally.
I have been a little bit in the real estate realm, only because my ex-husband was in the real estate realm. So I helped him with his real estate side of things. So for 20 years, I've been kind of in the background of real estate, but I would never step foot in the foreground of real estate, because it just wasn't my thing. So really, the medical side has been I started as a surgical tech way back in the 90s. I had graduated with my bachelor's degree in something, exercise physiology. I couldn't do anything with it. I wanted to go to PT school at the time. And I had this degree. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I had a friend of a friend of a friend had gone through surgical tech school. And I thought, well, it's cheap. Now I need to make some money. The program I went through was pretty affordable. And I thought, wow, that sounds cool, being in the operating room. And I jumped in and I became a tech. And what was so great about that is, about 3 years into it, I realized I have all these prerequisites done because of my bachelor's. Why not go to nursing school? And I was young and naive. And I thought, well, I could get paid more for scrubbing. Well, that, of course, changed trajectory once I finished nursing school. I stopped scrubbing and I became a circulating nurse, just like that. And so it was a blessing in disguise. I stayed in the OR the whole time out of nursing school. I never worked on the floor. I know that there's always this controversy of, what makes a good nurse, whether you work on the floor or you stick in the OR. And I was tried and true in the OR, and I can say I've been in the OR for since all of these years, but I did take some time in between that long journey, 24 years, 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I climbed the ladder. I climbed the OR ladder. I went into management. I was a director at one point, and I decided management at one point. Management was not my thing. I didn't want to babysit surgeons, and I didn't want to babysit staff. And I had young kids, and I needed a lateral move. So I went into clinical IT, and I was just lucky. I had a CIO of a hospital say, hey, I can teach the IT part of it, but I can't teach the management part of it. So there's a lot of project management. So I did a lot of the behind the scenes, the clinical informatics, before there was a degree for clinical informatics. And I got paid to learn how the back end of CRNFA. We use CRNFA at this particular hospital. And I learned the back end, and I did a lot of project management. And it was great for the first 3 years. And then the last 2 years, I was like, bring me people. I was in the basement. I was the only RN in the IT department. And I was used to an OR, dynamic environment, lots of people. And like I said, my kids were young. And so I had built a business, a side business. And so between the fact of being kind of not challenged anymore and having this business, I decided to retire from nursing for a few years. So I stayed home with my kids for 3 years as I had a business that matched my nursing salary. And then I went back to nursing, and I went back in the OR, and I was, it was like the OR was my home. It was like riding a bike. And so I went back as a circulating nurse. I didn't go into management. And I decided, you know what, I'm still going to keep climbing. I'm going to become a first assistant. And it brought me back to, the old days of scrubbing a case and being a part of that. So yeah, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been a first assistant, now a certified first assistant in the OR at a big trauma center. So I'm part of the medical staff, practicing, doing all sorts of specialties. And, every day is a new case. So yeah, I've had a long and windy road, and here I am. And once I got back into the swing of things, I thought, okay, what's next? Let's go into legal nursing. So that's it in a nutshell. But really in the OR
to it, though,
mostly. I know. It's really, that's why I love hearing other people's stories, is because my story has been kind of, up and down and around, and we all have those kind of fun
I've
stories.
spoken to OR nurses in the past, and they that have an interest, and they feel that they don't have the specialty for it. And I say, no way. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a big legal nurse need for OR nurses.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many surgical cases out there that need people like us that know those ins and outs of just the flow of the operating room. How does it work behind the red line? There is a really big need for OR nurses. Plenty of cases out there. I know I have
like
a
for
lot
case
of
summations. I mean, I'm sure you don't see malpractice every day, and I don't want you to name anything, but I know some. You've seen some over the years, like, oh, that could be a problem. Yeah, or going to be for that person.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always that risk, right? There's always those topics that come up, but really, summarizing what happened in the OR is really a gift that an OR nurse can give, because it really is a different world back there. And some of it makes logical sense, and some of it is just so technical and very I had a new nurse last week who said, she was a new nursing student. Actually, she was a last semester nursing student, and it was her first and only day in the OR, and she was like, and we were doing a robotic case, and she was like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. And it's very rare to find a nursing student to say that. And I said, well, why do you say that? Why do you say that this is amazing? She said, well, I'm very project based. I'm very, organized and project based. And I thought that I think you could ask any OR nurse and we would say the same thing. It is because it kind of runs like a project. And so it's a little bit different, but the value of understanding that is really helpful in this medical legal side. Very, very, very much so.
I was given a case. I was actually given an OR case, and I've never stepped foot into an OR. This is years ago. And I learned the meeting. I might not even pronounce it right, but they were happy with my summation. Is it a bovie stick?
Bovie, yeah.
Bovie stick.
I like it. I like it.
Well, Western New York, it might be bovie.
Bovie.
Bovie, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. This case was 10 years ago, but something happened where they prepped her, this whole lady, and someone lit the bovie stick and they lit her on fire.
Oh, did it arc? Was it an arc?
I believe so. And she had like third-degree burns, and it had to send her, to the trauma center. They just wanted a summation and a chronology. They did it, but I had to call some OR nurses just to kind of help me out here. Give me, like you just said, give me the flow of what's going on in CR. I mean, I'm seeing this lady burned herself, but I'm like, I could sort of see it. Why? Explain to me more. And it was detrimental. Right. It was pivotal to the case.
Yeah, there are step by step. Like this should happen before this, and this shouldn't happen before this. It's very much in a chronology, in a chronological order of what should happen, and we call it like a dance. It's like a dance. This person moves this way, and this person moves this way, and that's what should happen. And as an OR nurse, you understand those things, but as an outsider, it obviously looks catastrophic, and it is. Right. And there is this, fire risk, but there are also safety measures in place that we take, we've been focusing on for as many years as I've been in the OR. And sometimes it becomes second nature because it's very rare to have a fire in the OR, but it is clearly it's there. The risk is there for those reasons, arcing, or there's oxygen, the location, there's pooling of prep solutions. There's all sorts of things that create a fire risk. And it's our job to understand all of those.
It was a long time ago, but I think there's some oxygen involved. But it's funny you say that because the OR nurse that I consulted with, just what you said, there should be a list of safety steps somewhere that they should have all followed. You need to go, right. and we had to ask for that. That was not included in the medical records.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. It's an understanding. It's part of our training in the OR. Nowadays, there's a very formal training, a perioperative 101 training that, all OR nurses go through. But when I started, that didn't exist. There were standards that you knew and you followed. And they're very much similar and the same things. Technology has changed a little, but most of the standards are still the same. So understanding them is very key. In the old days, you had to rely on the person that was training you, the person that was preceptoring you to give you the right information. So nowadays, thankfully, there are steps that, new OR nurses take that do the training, that understand it based on the standards. But yeah, it is, there's a checklist involved. And there's this like dance between checking off boxes on the checklist and patient care and being a patient advocate and critical thinking and, being a very fluid nurse and understanding and listening to what's going on versus just checking off boxes. So we're finding that a lot nowadays, especially with electronic medical records. I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing on the floors. We've become this
click. You don't even know you're clicking. You're just getting it off the page. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And hope nothing bad happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So OR nurses out there, any OR nurses listening to this, legal nurse consulting is an avenue for you. As many as was
absolutely. Yeah.
So
and I love our OR nurses out there. Yeah,
how did you get started though with your LNC work, and how did you get yourself out there? Because everyone has to start somewhere, and we have the idea. Yeah. I mean, you kind of, even though you're passionate about bedside nursing, and then definitely your work, family, they mean so much to you. But then you kind of yourself too. You're like, you want a challenge, you want to do something else, and how did that happen for you?
It's a really good question, because about 20 years ago, I remember getting pamphlets in the mail and flyers in the mail that said something about legal nurse consulting. And I said, oh, that sounds cool. That sounds interesting. Oh, but I'm a new nurse. I don't understand this. I didn't know anything about it, but I remember hearing it years ago. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I decided to kind of walk away from the business that I had, and I was full into first assisting, but I really, really missed owning my business and running my business and marketing and things like that. And so I thought, gosh, it would be so great if I could meld my business knowledge with my nursing knowledge. I'd been a nurse for so many years. What is it that I could do? And then it popped up again. And I was like, bingo, I know exactly what to do. And the moment I stepped into it, I mean, I've been looking at charts for 20 something years and understanding and teaching and preceptoring and all of those things. And it was like, this is a natural fit for me. So really just understanding, the value in the knowledge of being an OR nurse, the knowledge of being a nurse, and then, being able to help someone understand what happened, the summary, the chronology, those kind of things. It was really eye-opening and like, this is just a perfect fit. So when it came time to the marketing side of, okay, now I have a business, now I want to market this, that kind of came natural because I had done it for so many years on social media in a totally different realm, but I loved it so much. And so I thought, all right, well, I know the marketing side. I got that. Let me learn the skill. Let me learn this legal nurse consulting skill, because it is a skill. And once I learned the skill, I was like, okay, let's put these two together and just, close my eyes and jumped. Really, and just hope that whatever I was doing was, the right thing. And here we are. I guess all of those puzzle pieces kind of came together. So that's really how I did it.
You're really fortunate though, because a lot of us go into it without the marketing skills.
Right. Right.
And we just
Yeah,
kind of throw against the wall and hopefully something sticks, you know?
yeah. I mean, and that's how I started my first business. I didn't know anything about marketing, in 2009. I knew nothing about it. And that's when social media was just starting. And so I spent a lot of years learning it. So I knew that was a skill that I had in my back pocket that I could utilize, and, getting to know people, and I love social media. I love social media for the reason my podcast, this conversation we're having here, is just meeting these wonderful people. I see everybody in the chat here. I recognize everyone's name here. Those
awesome.
are the reasons why I love social media, are the connections. And that's why I knew that when I decided to do the podcast, it would really be about connections, because that's all I knew. I didn't know the legal side of it, right? I knew that I could build connections, and I knew how valuable connections were. I didn't know specifically how valuable they would be in this field, but I knew that, building connections, you can only win. And so the marketing side is still a challenge, and I love the challenge. But most nurses were never taught how to market. And still it changes. Marketing changes every day, and it always will. And you kind of always have to keep on your toes. And truthfully, I think you really have to love it. You have to love the way you're marketing. I'm not saying that there's only one way to market, but you really have to love to market it one particular way. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. You don't want to do it, and it shows. And so I come from that cloth of like, okay, you have to love whichever way you choose. Dive in and really enjoy it. So
marketing is a pleasant challenge for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you have to. It's a challenge you're taking on, and it's fun to try to get to that finish line.
Yeah, it's always a challenge. It's always a challenge. Was that post a great post? What did it? Did people connect with it and those kind of things? And I always take it as not a chore, and it's not something that I have to do in order to get my name out. It's not something I have to do because it's a business. It's something I really enjoy doing, and I always want it to show that way, because what's the point? To me, it's like, what's the point? If I don't enjoy it and it doesn't show, then it's going to be really obvious, and so it may not be for everyone. But the marketing, when you can find the love of it, the love of the challenge, then there's no bad day. It's like, okay, learn from that one. Okay, maybe that post wasn't so great, or that time I posted wasn't so great.
And to tap in on that, Anna, Tim and I, when we've done marketing together and we continue to do that, we have the same kind of attitude. We have a lot of fun, and we've tried different things, and you just kind of go with it. What works, what doesn't work, and we've been having a lot of fun doing that as well, just like you said.
Sometimes I'd be on Canva and I'd have to shut it off because it's like addicting.
I know.
Because you're making your ad and you're putting this and this on it. And it's just, I'm like,
it's
all right,
like
I gotta stop.
It's 1,000 times better than it used to be. I joined Canva when it first opened many, many years ago. And there were just a few things here and there. And now what they have on there is you can definitely get down that rabbit hole and create so many amazing things. And then you look up and it's, 2 hours later, like, wait a minute. Okay,
exactly.
My time is valuable, but we need to call it quits right now.
Right. I used to kind of tease Jen because we'd work on an ad. I'd be like, I would tell my wife, well, I'm going to do, a Zoom with Jen, but it's like going to a movie because it'd be 3.5 hours later. We all do this Canva,
It was.
Yeah.
It'd be like 3 hours later, like, oh, what was that movie all about?
Yeah, totally. Easily. Yes, exactly. I love it.
So, yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, okay. So Anna, I know like LNC's out there, like in all different stages. I mean, marketing, you got the nursing knowledge and you want to do the legal nursing. And marketing is a big component, but every legal nurse consultant starting out wants to know, how did you get your first client and what would that feel like? What did that look like? Or how did that come to be? Because I think that's always kind of, I don't know, like when you meet somebody new, it's like, oh, where are you from? It's kind of like in the LNC world, how'd you get your first client?
Sure. Yeah, no, it's a great question. And the funny answer is that it wasn't through social media. And it wasn't through someone I knew either. To be
Wow.
honest with you, yeah, no. So, but it has to do with marketing. So over the years, social media has always been my favorite thing. But when I first started marketing my legal nurse consulting business, it was through email marketing because I knew that I could write a really good email and make it conversational. And, I also learned that I don't attach anything to that email. I don't attach, emotion to the email. Is that person going to email me back? Or, are they getting my emails? Are they reading my emails? Are they opening my emails? I knew that I had to pull myself out of that. And I just sent emails. I just sent emails. And I knew that if I continued to send emails, maybe they would reply back. And so my ratio in the beginning was for every 100 emails I would send out, I would get one reply, not one case, one reply. And so
Mm.
I knew it was with emails, it was a numbers game. And I knew that they would receive my emails and it would go to the trash, or maybe later they would open it back up later. But it never hurt to send the email. And I never really got any feedback. I think, a couple emails here and there, like take me off your list or whatever. So so my first attorney came through my email. I just caught her at the right time, right place, the right time. She said, I really need some help with this case. Is there any way we can hop on a call? Sure, let's do it. And that was it. And to this day, that office continues to reach out to me for help. So it just was by chance and a really good email, I suppose. I mean, it's not anything complicated. It is very conversational. It's very simple. But it was just send out a bunch of emails and not attach myself to any of it. And that's how I first started getting actually all of my clients came through the emails. And then I knew that I could spend the time marketing on social media because I had these and I could have more fun doing the social media side of it. So the emails were fine, and they didn't bring me joy, and it wasn't really fun because it was the same email. I wasn't able to be creative on a regular basis, but it allowed me to get my foot in the door, and that's really how I started.
I think we discussed
Wonderful.
this when I was on your podcast. That's something we have similar. My first case came through cold emails. People love or they
Hmm.
hate cold emailing because
Yeah.
they don't know what to do, what to say, or they just think they're being outright rude because we
Hmm.
all receive emails too that we don't want, but
Right.
it worked for me. I like that you say that because it worked for you and it worked for me. Cold emailing can work, but my first case came from a cold email in 2012 though, and I
Hmm.
think emails since then is kind of every one of these law firms had their email addresses on their websites. If you see a lot of law firms don't do that anymore because they know there's 100,000 of us
Right.
legal nurses out there that want a cold email, but it
Right.
still
Yeah.
does work, and I will
It
always
does.
stand by it.
It does. It really does. You just catch them at the right time in the right place, and they're looking for someone. And it was like, oh, instead of going to shuffle through all of their old emails they found, or a file that they may or may not have saved, or searching what was that nurse's name again.
Right.
You just tend to catch them at the right time, and then you're able to build a relationship because there are plenty of attorneys out there that need help, and it may be that day and it may not be that day, and that's okay. But yeah, I mean, there
It's
is
so
nothing wrong with it.
it's so true. It's also too, you kind of find it's kind of feast or famine. Like sometimes it all comes at once.
Hmm.
You're like, oh my God, what's going on in the
Hmm.
world? And you have
Yeah.
this work and you love it. And then it's like, I was so busy. Now what?
Yeah.
That's just kind of the
Yeah.
nature of the biz. But
Yeah.
Tim, share our experience like earlier this year with our where we had moved mountains.
Oh, well, Anna, you and I talked about this on your podcast. The value.
Hmm.
You also too
Hmm.
when let's ride the coattails of emailing. Your better emails if you show what value you bring to
Right.
an
Hmm.
attorney. But
Sure.
what Jen's referring
Hmm.
to, I get this email out of the blue, and yes, it was from cold emailing. But some paralegals knew me from some other firms, and they jumped to a new firm. But my emails were out there, and they caught it. Long story short is I get this email that says, we have this new medical malpractice case. We were going to go to ADR, alternative dispute resolution. and we were going to try to get the date moved, and they said no. So we have to have our case prepared in 5 days, and we have 35,000 medical records. Can you do a chronology for us and tell us if you have a case or not?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Jen and I put 2 other nurses together with myself, and we put our lives on hold.
We did.
And I also said, okay, we will take it. I gave them a rate that is higher than anybody's comfortable in this LNC room. And they said yes.
It's a rush case.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. Expedite. You put your life on hold. That's what it's going to cost. Yeah.
So then we all go through these. We divvied them up, and we all came. We were like a jury. There was 4 nurses, and then we all met in Zoom and said, "This place doesn't have a case. There's no merit here." I mean, and they gave us an agenda on what to look for. This is what we think's wrong. This is what we think. What we want to know when this person had this. Well, we said there was an intervention with each one. Every infectious doctor had orders every time, the pneumonia you were looking for. Every time they got hypoxic, respiratory therapy was right there with the adjustments on the ventilation. I don't want to get into details, but they were so appreciative is my point. And they have since just today asked me to Zoom with them on a new case that they want, and they want our team back. So, it's the value.
It's the value. Exactly.
It is the value.
You show up and give them value, and they come back. It's a blessing that you can do that. And you just caught them originally at the right time. And it was like, oh wait, we really need you. And that you continue to provide value. Yeah. I love that. Wow. That's a great story.
So, and it's just funny that email came in today, and I screenshotted it over to Jen, just not only an hour ago.
Yeah, you're never going to believe this.
But that's what we do. We love to help attorneys with the medical aspect of their cases, and we'll give them our analysis. I mean, it's an honest analysis, which is the value, because we want to. I mean, that's what you're looking for. You want to look at both sides of it, and
you can't tell them what they want to hear. If it's not true, if it's true, then absolutely,
right.
Yep. I just had that last week. It was like, I wish I could give you what you wanted, but I've looked at it quite a few times, and unfortunately,
Well, to add to that, the one attorney told me later that there was an offer on the table for that case. They took it.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely provided value.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys a question. This is my first streamer in a long time. Can you see the comments? I didn't think you could.
I can see. Yeah, I think I had clicked on something before we started, so I see some. I see a bunch of hi Tim, hi Anna, hi Dr.
Any names you recognize? You want to talk to anybody, or just
I'm just looking through here. Hi, Dr. Romano, Kristen. I see.
Do you know Kristen?
Fellow OR nurse. Yes, I do. I've worked with Kristen. She's amazing.
Hi, Kristen.
And Kalila, fellow OR nurse. Awesome. And then Joanna has a question, actually. Where did you learn to write reports? Well, I went through program, like some of us, and I learned to write. And then I just the more you do, the better you get. Is kind of, and I talked about this a lot in the original podcast episodes, that I never got any feedback. I would finish a report and I would turn it in and I would get paid, and then I wouldn't hear from them. No phone calls, and I would try to word my my email a little bit different. Okay, call me when you get this. Okay, in order for me to get a call back, so I can understand whether I was providing what they needed or whether they needed more or less or whatever. But for probably my first 20 cases, I never got a reply back. It was just, here you go. That was it. And
but you got to repeat work, though. See, I would think if they're coming back,
I did get some repeat work. It was the first repeat work. I go, okay. Now we're moving in the right direction. So the feedback is okay, but I had to be okay with what I was providing, because there was never any like lack of payment. There was never any, oh, you didn't give me. So there was no negative feedback, or I was missing information. So I just had to go with my own gut feeling that I was providing the value that I wanted to provide. And I would just move forward knowing that. And then, I just got better at writing. It's just the more you write, the better you get, and but very little feedback for many, many, many cases. I just had to trust my gut and knowing that I know what I'm talking about. It's like, I know nursing, I know what's happening. And so maybe my writing isn't, very legalese, but I know nursing. And so I had to just trust my gut and know that what I was writing was something that they could understand. That was the other reason. I just want to make sure that they understand what I'm writing or what the, makes sense to them. But yeah, I had to just understand that I knew what I was talking about and had to just write it. But, you can always improve. I always say that. I know I can get better. We always can.
One thing I did, which is really simple, but I don't think a lot of nurses do it. When I get a case from an attorney and he wants chronology back or he wants a summation, I will say, how would you like the report to look? Like, how would you like it done? Because a lot of times they all create art differently. I mean, they like it in a form of their preference. And if you get that out of them, then that's gold, instead of like coming up with this bells and whistles from blah, blah, blah program of LNC. I mean, that's fine, but was it totally necessary? If you just find the attorney what they really want, you might be surprised.
Yeah. But I will challenge that in that I never got any. I tried my best to get that information and they just were like, I just need the information. So you become a little bit of a mind reader. It's not I'm going to give you all these bells and whistles. It's what would be valuable? So I was a really big fan of, pulling out information on tables and things like that. It was like, okay, you've had, all of this imaging that you really kind of can't keep track of because they've had so much imaging. So let's put a little table together that has the imaging in a snapshot. That would be valuable, I would think, so there was a lot of mind reading when it came to that, but it was not about bells and whistles. It was just like, okay, what could I pull out of this report that's a snapshot that would be valuable to you, when they wouldn't give me that feedback? Because really I don't know. It's even to this day, there's really no, hey, can you add this? Can you change this? It was just, I maybe have a good mind reader. I don't know.
No, that's a great point. I love it.
That is a really good point, because when you have all those imaging, you can kind of see the trend, the injury, the changes, like if a surgery, like if hardware didn't, if the hardware was loose or malfunction or whatever, but it demonstrates all of that. And I mean, which is the value, and which is very significant.
Someone has a great question in the bottom, which I want to
I see
answer.
It. Yeah.
Wondering, how do you show value in your cold emails? I have a response to that I've added in the past. To show your value in cold emails or even just speaking to an attorney, somehow make it personal. Somehow say that, hey, for your case, when reading, the record, I put myself at the bedside, you know what I mean? And I can visualize, what's exactly happening in that OR or that ER, instead of like, I bridge the gap between, those standard lines that every LNC has out there. The point I'm trying to make to her question there is, to show you that value is to show your personality and your personal input on it, like where you come from.
Yeah. I love that. I love that response. I thought, when you said that, I thought of when I took my my certification for first assisting. It's no longer a test, it's a portfolio. Well, it's still new and it's still fresh. You had to write this, basically a story. Okay, how would you handle this situation? And so initially I would write it, okay, I delegate that person, I delegate that person, I delegate that person. Well, that was not the right answer. It was literally telling a story. Okay, so Susie would, unplug the Bovie, and Joe would go get water, and it was very specific, a bit very specific story in what you're explaining. So basically what you just said, where you're like, I work bedside, and giving a very descriptive, short but descriptive answer is a lot better than just saying I bridge the gap between nursing and legal. So I
Right.
love that you said that, because it
'Cause
kind of narrows it down to that.
I like to tease with Jen, like when we come up with Canva, like we can't be a hardware store and say, I have telemetry, ICU, and OR experience. It's like at Bill's hardware store, we sell nails, hammers,
Yeah.
pumps, like,
Mhm.
snooze, I mean, I
Yeah.
want like a little, you got to have some personal touch to it.
Mhm. Right. Exactly. I love it. Yeah, personal touch. And really how I think that my emails stand out is that it is very conversational. It is not pitchy. It is a conversation, couple sentences, conversation, not super formal, because we all get those formal emails and it's just a blur. So it's a really quick, hey, how are you doing? I wish I had one pulled up. I could tell you, but I couldn't tell you what it says today. But it is very conversational. It is like I'm talking to my friend. Maybe this attorney we met at a event, which we didn't. But I always like to think that way. It's like, it's, hey, we met at this event. Hey, I'm your neighbor. I live in your neighborhood. I'm a nurse in your neighborhood. Those kind of
Oh,
things.
exactly.
Very
Yeah, you put some
conversational.
personal touch,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I think
Great
that's the answer
example,
right
though.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is a really good example. Well, we've been running at this. I mean, it feels like 5 minutes, but guess what? I have a ticker in front of me that
Oh,
says it's been
wow. Yeah, I
42.
see it. Yeah, I see that. And now the
I
people
want
are starting to walk through the conference room.
yeah,
Like a little
I'm going to
louder.
see a conga line going by.
I know, right?
I just want any more comments or questions. I'm going to give you like another minute or two, and I think we're going to wrap things up. I mean, feel free to shoot them. One thing I was just going to promote, besides I'm going to promote Anna's socials and Jen and myself social medias in a minute. Our next LNC Talks is going to have an attorney. Now, I would love your just little thoughts. You might know about this, Anna. It's Dan Miller, but he's not looking for a legal nurse consultant. I hate using the term, he wants whistleblowers in the healthcare industry. He wants that nurse that has been seeing so much just BS fraud going on, and then
Right.
just and then report to him. He files a suit, and that person reporting can get 30% of that suit. And not only, I'm not saying we're all money hungry grabbers. It keeps the healthcare system a little more honest and a little more above board.
Yeah, that's interesting.
all.
It's an interesting take on that. I love that. That should be an interesting conversation.
He on his website, and he's going to talk about it next week. He had a NICU case where he filed it was some NICU. It wasn't malpractice, but something wrong was going on, and they sued the hospital, and it was a whistleblower case, and it was a $60 million case, and that person reporting got 30% of that.
Yeah, so it's valuable to speak up.
Basically. Yeah, so that'll be our next LNC Talks.
Nice.
Oh, we do get one more. When you send emails to attorneys, are they personalized? Do you send out mailers? I don't send out mailers. They are personalized. I've used Constant Contact. There's like services out there that'll make that real pretty for you. But they'll have my information at the bottom. And, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I'll say the same. Mine are personalized. Mine are not fancy at all. Mine are as if I would like to think of it's as if, your friend was sending you an email, where it's very just like text-based, because typically those are more inclined to be read, thinking that maybe, do I know this person? And they read it like a friend would read an email. So that's how my approach on the emails, but it is personalized. And I like you, don't send out mailers. because I know what I do with mailers.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Just
They hit
send them
the
away.
garbage. Yeah. No. And I even tell people, if you drop by into law firms, that's a great thing to do, but don't have paper with you. Have like candy and stuff with it, because and stick the information in that, because then it won't immediately go into garbage. You know, at least it'll get looked at.
Yeah. I think Kamara has another question real quick here. She says, what has been the one standout way you have been a support to your attorney clients? I would just say for me, it's really helping them understand this side of it, you know, really making them understand and seeing the big picture. And they're very, very receptive of it. For me, that's what the value I have, you know, been able to support my attorney clients in.
Well, I'd have to go back to just what I said like 10 minutes ago with Jen and I. We charged this firm a huge amount of money to go through 35,000 medical records and tell them they didn't have a case. And that's supporting them. And they were highly appreciative of that, because they could have went on and on and on and spent more money. So that, you know, that's
right. Yeah. Cost savings. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of that as well. I'm going to be upfront in how long I think this is going to take me. If it's going to take me any longer, then I'm going to tell you ahead of time. But I really, really try and keep it to where I feel like it's, you know, kind of based on my experience. I don't tend to overbill, because I want them to come back. I want them to find that, gosh, they got a really great deal on that. I don't sell myself short, but I really want them to come away with value. Like you over delivered, and, you know, they feel like they got a great deal on that. So
I don't want to go too long, but it's funny how you talk about selling yourself short. And I've said this to Jen, and then she has to remind me about it. When we talk about like fees, you know, there's a story. It's like when you shop on Amazon, like they all have the same product. You buy the least expensive one. No, because you think that's going to be the crappiest one.
Yeah.
You know,
that's,
you know, because you're like, well, I want to, I want to, you know, underprice myself and they'll take me. Not necessarily, because that could be a reflection of how poor you are, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think I tried that in the very beginning once, and it backfired completely. So, you know, don't do it. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
You are valuable.
And I'm still paying for like 12 years later. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it. It will not benefit you at all, and it will not benefit them at all. No. So yeah.
Well, all righty. I think we've hit everybody. There's a thank you.
Oh, there's one more question. The most requested report from attorneys. I think it depends on.
That's wide open.
Yeah.
I think with that, how I handled that, I mean, definitely we have our reports, but I always go back to the attorney, like, do you have a report style that you prefer? Because like what they're used to, or a template, and then I just kind of go off of what they have. And if they're like, oh, whatever, then I mean, I definitely have reports.
But if Joanna might have been asking, like, what's the most requested report? Like, what kind of case? I mean, we've seen it like, like I've never been an OR nurse in my life, and I had an OR case. You know, I don't know if that's where you're going with that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it really could be anything. I think for me, there's no two reports are the same.
Right.
No two cases are the same. That's how I look at it. So it's you know, I like to say I like to summarize what happened, and I like to give you a timeline. I mean, that's really let's start with that, a timeline, and summarize what happened, and then we can go from there. You know, that's
work samples. No, I don't. I just no. That's just a no from me.
Yeah.
Do you share work samples? I don't. No.
Everyone, when I'm asked, but it's very.
I don't think I've ever been asked.
No, I've been asked, but it's very rare, and I don't think that it's not because of my work sample that I'm hired. It's like, okay, here's your retainer. Oh, by the way, can you send me a work sample so that I know what I'm looking, I know what I'm going to be getting. You know, it doesn't make or break whether they're going to hire me or not. That's been my experience. So.
I would only show a work sample if they requested it. I wouldn't be
right.
You know, because you're pounding stuff down their door. Like that's kind of like a lot of mailers, or they're just not going to look at it unless they ask for it.
Let's see. Oh, Dr. Romano, I see. AI impact on the field. Loads of companies saying they can do chronologies in the space via AI. They can. But here's my take on that. You can get AI and AI chronology, but the value, you could probably say the same thing, both of you, is that you've probably found something in the records that was like the one line that made the case. And I know for myself, I can, and that may or may not have been pulled from AI, you know?
AI cannot do that human analysis. I don't care what they say.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Because if you're looking at standard of care, and if you think about it, if it's a nurse and you're understaffed and you're at one end dealing with a trauma and then something else happens at the other end, I mean, you do the best that you can based on that situation. And AI wouldn't be able to process that. And so there's so many other factors, like human factors, that need to be part of that report, which is your analysis that you would share in your report regarding that. So
yeah, I agree with that. And it kind of goes back to what we had talked about earlier, like with the OR, there are step by step situations, but not all cases are exactly the same. There are variables involved. And so you understand what step comes first, second, third, but with AI, you have to really use your own knowledge to understand.
I don't believe AI is going to replace us. I really don't.
No, I don't.
And I've heard a story too where like an AI did do a chronology. I don't know the numbers, but like say it was a ton of medical records or not a ton of medical records, and the chronology was like 700 pages. Like they don't want that.
Right.
No.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I don't offer reviewing AI against the records. I've never had to do that. I've never been up against an AI. And if I did, it would be just like me going through the records myself. So there would be no value in redoing the work, you know? I mean, that's how I would view that question. It would be like redoing the work. So what's the point?
I love this interaction.
I think your best bet for that is have another LNC review your work to make sure like punctuations and things like that, or just to make sure that it reads well. I would do that versus double checking with AI. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I think I got the question reversed, but yes, I think I agree with you, Jen, as having somebody else, a human, checking your work versus running it against the AI. Yeah, for sure.
All righty.
I love all the questions. Those are great.
Yeah, we do too. This has been wonderful. Yeah. That's what we want. We want to stimulate conversation.
Yes.
And
I love it.
I have Anna's info here. Let's do this, right? There you are on LinkedIn, Anna B. Gray, Anna Gray YouTube, and there's your YouTube link. And it's just basically at Anna Gray TV.
Yep. You can
do you have an email you want to say?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Welcome. It's anna.gray@limitlesslnc.com. So feel free to email me or message me on LinkedIn. I know it's pretty easy to get messages on LinkedIn, and I'm pretty responsive there. I've been over there quite a bit these days. So either email or send me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram.
Alrighty.
Either way.
And if you want to get a hold of myself, everybody knows who I am. I mean, Tim Kane at medicallegalconnection.com. Please, if you're not in my LNC group, please join. This is on my LinkedIn page. Any attorneys, please reach out to Anna if you feel that I feel she'll be very valuable to your case, especially OR, or to myself, Tim Kane at medicallegalconnection.com. And I have Jennifer Leahy, and she's J Leahy at medicallegalconnection.com.
Yeah, we're here to help.
Yeah.
Anna, it's been a delight to have you as our first guest. It's been
Thank you very much. It's been wonderful. Yeah, this is great.
To break time away in Disneyland to come join us. I know. I highly appreciate it.
Take a break in the day. Now I'm going to go back and have some fun. Go find Mickey for you.
Yes,
okay.
That would
we'll
be
be looking for Mickey on your YouTube page.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Well, thank you so much for having me, you guys. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks to everybody who attended as well.
Yeah.
And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. See you later.